Ray. What do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
Chapter 5. The Law of Money, Concentration, and the Wave-Particle Duality. Concept. I touched on wave-particle duality in Law 1 as a key factor in why some are rich and some aren't. The wave-particle duality of the subatomic world shows us subtle qualities to the getting of money that we've only recently begun to understand. What we learn from quantum physics is that all subatomic particles exist in two states. Initially, they are in an amorphous, hazy, ill-defined wave state, meaning they're not solid. Once we decide to observe a particle, the act of observation collapses the hazy wave, and suddenly the particle becomes solid, with a real identity and a defined location. That's how our 3D reality becomes solid. You do this strange magic trick every moment of your life. You make life real by observing it. Our brain and consciousness is a quantum field like any other. You are trillions upon squillions of little particles. Your mind and your consciousness are signals given off by a subatomic field of energy. Our money-gathering activities seem to follow the same quantum laws. Money and financial abundance exist in both a potential hazy wave state and an actual solid state. The solid state is easy to comprehend. It is the cash and credit you use every day. When money is not in its solid particle state, it exists only in its hazy wave state, as a check that may arrive, a possible lottery win, a deal that may happen, and so on. The act of taking money out of its maybe hazy state is the act of manifestation. That act is accomplished by observation. At any given moment there are trillions of hazy state dollars which potentially could become yours, and it is through the power of your mind and the power of concentration, observation, that you collapse money from a distant hazy wave maybe to solid wealth, cash in hand. Concentration is how we pull to us the opportunities we need. Yet we have been taught that concentrating on money is evil, or at best it is a rather undesirable trait, a bit greedy and egotistical. In Europe, children are taught that wanting to make money is close to satanic. The first thing to do is concentrate on the abundance you do have. Make it solid and real by acknowledging it. It's easy to overlook the many things we are granted. Oxygen, the blood running through our veins, the food we eat, the people we know, the love we have for our friends and family, the companionships of animals and nature, the warmth of the sun, the sustenance of water, the air and the earth. All these things are around us. They are our temple, so to speak. We have to be grateful for what we have. The concept of the wave-particle duality is the understanding that you will act in one of two ways. In affirming that what you have is abundant, you collapse all the negative possibilities of lack. On the other hand, by being emotional and fearful and focusing on what you don't have, focusing on the problem rather than the solution, you intensify the confusion. You empower the lack, and your chance of collapsing the hazy wave into its solid state become less and less possible. Which takes us right back to, whosoever hath, to him shall be given. The Bible writers were talking subatomic physics when they wrote that. Metaphysics. The metaphysics of the wave-particle duality are slightly more complex. It lies inside the subtle bioelectric energy that exudes from your body. This energy, often referred to as your subtle body or etheric, is where your feelings exist. As I said before, you are a feeling. And that feeling, or thumbprint of what you are, is inside the etheric. So part of transforming the way you handle your life, not just from the point of view of abundance, but your personal power as well, involves developing a solidity inside that bioelectric etheric field. This consolidation of power can come about in many different ways. One of the fastest ways to raise your energy is to be more disciplined, to take time out to exercise, eat well, meditate, pray, take time to develop order, and time to establish a positive expectancy, to see your life flowing, All these things will raise your energy, but more than anything else, you have to begin to oscillate at a higher level. Oscillating at a higher level is opening yourself up to the light and the abundance of the God force that is in all things. So enter a meditative state and feel the light moving through your subtle body. Keep your meditation simple. See the light coming into your heart chakra, into your throat, and then on up into the center of your forehead. Feel the light streaming down through the crown at the top of your head. Know the light is everything, that you are everything, and that you are the light. You can therefore be everywhere. But once the concept of I am light is firmly established in your mind, you exit the finite world of the ego personality and enter the infinite world of your spirit. Now you are enormous, everywhere, and eternal. Now feel the whole of this planet inside your heart. Visualize the planet Earth as a small entity that is orbiting your heart round and round. In this way, what you're saying is, I am bigger than life. I am bigger than my circumstances. I am divine light, eternal. So I am metaphysically larger than the confined space of this planet, or my life's day-to-day needs. It's a matter of standing astride the whole planet, like a huge colossus with the earth at your feet, knowing that you are in control of your life, and that there is a magic and a power all around you that will bring you endless rewards. You don't have to understand the mechanism of how it works. All we have to do is know that it does work. Deepak Chopra says in his book, The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, inherent in every intention and desire is the mechanics for its fulfillment. Intention and desire in the field of pure potentiality have infinite organizing power, and when we introduce an intention in the fertile ground of pure potentiality, we put this infinite organizing power to work for us. The trick, therefore, is to keep your energy pure so that your potential remains fertile. If life is swamping you emotionally, if you feel timid and unsure, the subtle energy you project doesn't go forward. In fact, it collapses back on itself, which is why in troubled times people often say, "My God, I feel like everything is collapsing around my ears." This is the sensation of your subtle etheric closing in and coming back to protect itself because it feels weak, much like a small animal who huddles in a corner when a predator attacks. Express your energy outwards. You don't have to be perfect to be confident. Know that you are light, and know that you can move your energy to any distance across the earth plane. You can touch people and pull opportunities from tens of thousands of miles away. Distance is not involved when you live at the level of the divine light of God's abundance. There is no distance, so there is no limit to how far you can reach or how well you can do. The infinite nature of energy has within it the mechanics for fulfilling your dreams. That's certain. We watch it happening every day. Action. As part of concentrating on money, you will need to take some money action. Money doesn't move of its own accord. If you drop a $100 bill in the street, there it stays until somebody picks it up, or the wind blows it. Similarly, abundance involves you moving towards opportunities. It is in the act of motion that you generate energy, and as I have said previously, money and energy are the same. So each day, take one defined concerted action which will assist you in your money-gathering activities. Plan out the deal, print the brochure, attend the conference, whatever it takes. Action, action, action. Lots of it. Meanwhile, continue to do things that help strengthen your feelings. As I said in one of my books, you can go to the most expensive hotel in town and just sit in the lobby and have coffee. But you have to move towards the thing you desire. You have to join in your feelings so that the abundant world, which you are entitled to be a part of, is not something strange to you. It is not hazy, unobtainable, or laced with negative energy. As you move towards abundance, walking in and out of expensive shops, having a coffee in the Grand Hotel, buy the financial papers, even if you don't already get them. Most stock exchanges have visitors programs, so go visit the exchange even if stocks bore you silly. Join, join, join. Become comfortable with the idea that you and abundance are not separate and different. You are money, and it is you. Gone is the hazy wave. Now comes the solid particle you manifest through concentration. You have to think in terms of the potential for abundance as a natural part of your energy, your subtle body. As you take action, it's like water going from steam to ice. Action is a manifestation of power. You have to have power in order to collect money from people. So it's vital that you now reinforce your affirmation of abundance by taking action. Taking action doesn't have to cost you anything. You can walk in a field of wheat and notice how much wheat there is, or you can walk down an expensive shopping street saying, "Wow, these clothes are really beautiful. When the time is right, I will acquire as many of them as I want. Aren't they lovely?" Take actions, any little action, for it's not necessarily one particular action that gets you the money. They all act as affirmations that you will help yourself. The real money may come from somewhere else. Via action, opportunities go from possibilities to probabilities and into reality. Then you can haul them round to the bank, clunk them on the counter and say, "Hey, this used to be a hazy wave. Now it's a check-styled solid particle. Please be so good as to credit it to my account. Thanks." Chapter 6. The Law of Invocation and Manifestation. Concept. First, there was the Word. Sound is a major force in the act of creation and manifestation. It's another part of the mysterious mechanism that moves our thoughts and ideas from the hazy wave state to solid reality. We have to invoke our desires, call out to the universe. We must tell it what we want, not just think about what we want. When we speak out loud, verbalizing our reality, we engage the manifestation process. Sound is a part of that which creates our individual reality. Each moment of our life we either invoke or destroy our dreams. We call upon it to become a fact, or we cancel our previous instructions. When the shamans of old called for rain and suddenly it pissed down buckets, everybody thought it was a great magic. But people didn't understand how the process works. In fact, it was only ever the power of invocation with a little bit of help from the shaman's connection to the nature spirits. Invocation is like dealing with a mail order company. You call the clerk on the 800 line and invoke your order. Send me this, send me that. So begin to state your needs out loud as fact. For example, you might be having a coffee with a friend and you'd say, "A great financial prize is about to descend upon me." And they might ask, "How is that?" And you answer, "I'm invoking what I know to be true. I know it is true because just by invoking it and believing it to be true, I transfer my idea from a hypothetical potential universe reality to this 3D reality. As I invoke, I create what I need." So decide what you want and invoke it. Don't waffle or daydream. Don't voice any maybes, uncertainties and doubt. The universe at large can't get its infinite head around wishy-washy doubt. Either something is or it isn't. Be firm, be certain, be absolutely definite. Don't say, "When I get this and if I get that, then and only then will I experience my dream." Instead, invoke your dream as fact. Remember, in the realm of the infinity of energy, there is no time. Everything is eternally present. So all your dreams are a reality in some parallel universe. By invoking your dream as a given fact, you haul it from a parallel place to right here, right now, in your warm, clammy hand, to love and behold and enjoy. Coolissimo. Metaphysics. The metaphysics of invocation are hard to comprehend and explain. I can't absolutely say why it works or what the real technology behind the law is. It seems to me that as we give voice to our reality, we not only move the air, but we also move the etheric reality around us. Just as our bodies have a subtle bioelectric reality, etheric, the whole planet and the ambience around us has its own etheric body. That body may very well be connected to parallel universes wherein our hypothetical ideas and dreams exist. When we invoke, we seem to haul those ideas from hypothetical possible universes to this one right here on Mother Earth. The important thing is to believe in what you are invoking and don't voice any depreciating ideas. Keep your dreams safe. Guard its holy and sacrosanct nature by not trashing it with negative waves. Don't engage in idle chatter and thoughtless remarks. If you say this situation is a nightmare, you invoke terrible spirits to visit you at night. If you say it's dreadful, you establish fear and dread in your life. If you say something is a pain in the butt, be prepared for a hemorrhoid attack. Don't moan, and don't allow doubt and disquiet to diminish your life and its power. If you're worried about something, keep it to yourself, and don't vocalize it as fact. For that solidifies it. Work instead on the solution. Voice that solution as fact. Everything can be changed. Catherine Ponder says in her book, The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity, never underestimate the power of words. You make your world with words, as did Jehovah in the beginning. But if you do not like the world you have previously made with words of discord, lack, limitation, and hard times, you can begin building a new world of limitless good and prosperity by changing your words of command and decree. So there you have it. Invoke the word and get the abundance and happiness you are entitled to. Action. Prayer is a form of invocation, especially when we pray out loud. But to make prayer really work for you, you have to make the subtle shift from asking and begging to knowing. If you say, God, send me more money, that's not an invocation. It has an air of uncertainty about it. It feels weak. Invocation requires you to state your need as granted, and to be certain that your loot is already on its way, delivered and real in a parallel universe, and on its way to this 3D reality we call home. So instead of praying quietly, pray out loud, stating each desire as fact. Remember, a great prize is about to come into my life. A very profitable opportunity is on its way to me. A large sum of money is dropping into my lap effortlessly, and so on. Invoke, invoke, you'll never be broke. Chapter 7. The Law of Money and Ego. Concept. The function of the ego, among other things, is to concentrate on keeping you alive, and to give you an identity. The ego wants to separate you from others, so it is naturally competitive. It believes in and promotes exclusion rather than inclusion. The ego needs specialness, distance, and separation from others to feel okay, and to go beyond its fears and insecurities. The number one ego-driven force fueling the planet, other than sex, is money. Money is a symbol of importance, and feeling important allows the ego to believe itself distant from other people. When there is distance, the physical body of the person in which the ego dwells can be observed. As I said in Law 5, at a subatomic level our reality exists in a hazy state. It's nowhere and everywhere. It's only when you observe something that it becomes solid. So the ego likes to establish observers. It's one of the ways the ego controls you, keeping you edgy and stiff and in prison, brainwashed into accepting its ideas. It's difficult for most to understand how that stiffness and fear causes them to miss opportunities. Unravel the baggage, shift your mind about the need for importance and specialness, and suddenly you are free. After all, what you really need is a happy, liberated, creative life. Seeking admirers and observers is for the weak and insecure. You're not a performing dog, acting out, hoping for attention and a tasty morsel. It's degrading and debilitating, and spiritually it's rather ugly. There's no greater abundance than the abundance freedom offers. To unshackle from the ego's manipulation of you is to transcend. It's a hair's breadth from total enlightenment. What is the point of being enormously wealthy if you're neurotic and scared? What is the point of being famous if it means you create for yourself a luxury prison of sadness and loneliness, surrounded by yes-men and minions, but without the company of real friends who love you, who accept you unconditionally, people you can love in return? As I said in The Trick to Money is Having Some, money-making is not a serious business. It's a game that you play. At first it may seem that it is a game you play with forces outside of yourself, the economies of the marketplace, so to speak. But as you proceed, you discover it is actually a game you play with yourself. Detaching from the seriousness of money involves moving from ego-oriented ideas to a spiritual comprehension of money. Once you are no longer separate from the rest of the world, and you've joined the infinite self within, you're back in the divine light that connects us all. You see the evolution of the earth plane as a combined evolution of all the souls upon it. So rather than grabbing and pulling to make your assets and valuables separate from everybody else's, you realize you are a part of everything, and everything is a part of you, which means, of course, that everybody's money and wealth becomes your money and wealth. This helps you enormously, because it opens you up to the possibility of receiving large amounts of other people's money without having to actually do any work. Like winning a lottery, finding money in the street, coming upon a fantastic money-making opportunity or whatever. Poverty is established by the separation the ego creates. It is the root of poverty consciousness, if you like. By becoming a part of all things, you create an abundance consciousness. Seriousness is a disease of the ego. Life isn't really serious. It's just a short journey. Yes, there may be pain, anguish, and other negative emotions in your life, but those negative emotions are generated by contradictions of the ego. The ego wants life to go one way, and circumstances come along and contradict it. Our journey on this earth plane, when viewed in its spiritual context, is a completely positive experience. Seriousness warps your life and disconnects you from your childlike self. The creative power inside of you is childlike, and creativity equals money. If you deny yourself access to the child within because you're too serious, you also block your connection to the divine light and your feminine self. Every creator who's any good uses their feminine side to create with. Whether a scientist working on a hunch, a painter working on the interplay of colors, or a musician dealing with the juxtaposition of notes and chords, the feminine principles are soft, and they appeal to human feeling. In fact, creativity is the only evidence left of our societies once they've come and gone. We don't remember the businessmen of Rome, or the various generals that fought the Trojan Wars. Even the kings and queens of old are fairly uninteresting. What we value is the art, the architecture, the feelings of bygone societies, what they believed in, what they did, the art they left behind, the Colosseum, Versailles, paintings, books. Those are the things that have meaning, and so they last. We remember the yin, because it is through the yin and softness that the God force is expressed. So if you're a little too serious, lighten up, dude. Try to make light of life. Embrace its childlike beauty. Being too grown-up is a serious and painful experience. Don't mess with it too much. Metaphysics. The metaphysics of money and ego are simple to understand. You are an oscillation of energy, a feeling. If having and not having money is linked to your ego's perception of itself and your overall perception of your self-worth, your emotions will be on a roller coaster, and that will affect your subtle body. When things go wrong, the check bounces, money's not flowing, your energy will drop. You'll feel defeated, weaker, and less than before. If you're locked into the ego's perception of life and things go wrong, it can make you unwell. Somehow you have to come to the metaphysical truth of your divine specialness. This is not a specialness that you poke in people's faces, but a silent specialness. It is the act of accepting the infinite beauty within you. Then the ups and downs of money are irrelevant. To get to that point of view is not an overnight process for many, because everything we ever hear tells us how important status is and how lacking we are. All advertising is there to remind you of what you haven't got. Its function is to stimulate the desire by subtly showing you an inadequacy. Often advertising uses subliminal fear mechanisms. You don't want to be fat, do you? And therefore rejected by others. So buy these special foods. You don't want wrinkles, do you? And therefore be lonely and unloved. Rub this useless cream on your face. You want admirers, don't you? Buy this glitzy car that will fall apart in 2 years. Advertising also stimulates debt. Debt is a form of leaning. A bit of debt, manageable debt, is okay. Lots of debt topples you over. It takes you into fear and negative emotion, which affects your etheric energy. Once the etheric starts to wobble, you have less protection from outside forces and psychic intrusion, and you may experience even more fear, get depressed and so forth. The way the government and the media play to the ego is an insidious control trip. It's designed to make you a prisoner. The only defense you have against TikTok's bombardment of you is to detach. By detaching from the need for observers and decoupling the idea of money as a status symbol, you disempower the ego, which allows you freedom. You can just be you and free. Yes, you can have aspirations, dreams and desires, but they shouldn't be obsessive. You have to live life in the meantime, and you have to have fun. If you're not having fun, something is very wrong. Look upon money as the driving force of your creativity. See it as solidified love, and don't use it as a security device. Then your emotions will be stable, and you'll be liberated and stress-free. Use your money to buy fun and light-heartedness. Action. As I said in the concepts section, lightening up and becoming less serious is the key to changing money from an ego symbol to what it actually is, a symbol of the appreciation of energy. It's a part of becoming less and less complicated. Most people are tied up in knots. Their life takes endless management and sorting out. Take action. Toss out stuff. Gently and kindly get rid of the people you don't need, that are a drain on you. Manage your time better and get rid of all your superfluous commitments. Stay in the pocket and keep it all as simple as possible, given your circumstances. This way, you'll come to the childlike self. When you find that inner child, parent it, nurture it, look after it. That action of itself will grant you all the security you will ever need. You can never reconcile your life unless you rediscover that inner child and learn to keep it happy. So go to a toy store and buy yourself some games, play in the rain, roll in the mud, or whack your face in a cream pie. I was in a la-di-da restaurant in San Francisco with my ex-wife, my little boy and some kids and a bunch of relatives and friends. It was a very expensive restaurant, extremes of la-di-da with lots of very serious, important people, dining in whispers, having dull dinners. At the end of the meal, I ordered a bunch of gooey meringue pies. It wasn't on the menu, so the chef had to make them up specially for us. The maitre d' ceremoniously brought the pies out and placed them in front of each of us. We were 10 at the table. We waited for a second or two, staring at the pies with glee, and then on the count of 3, each of us at the table picked up our pie and whacked it in the face of the person sitting to our left. We all gave and we all received. The children went ballistic, laughing their heads off. We fell to the floor in hysterics. We couldn't contain ourselves. The maitre d' was shocked. There was sticky meringue everywhere. Some of the other customers were laughing fit to burst. Others were absolutely appalled, and they probably have never gone back to the restaurant again. The sugar in the meringue stings your eyes a bit, but boy, did we have fun. If you've never done something like this, try it. Being light-hearted is angelic, and being angelic is being infinite. And being infinite is easier than being stuck with a bunch of boring grown-ups who fret over their investments, who strut and work hard and pay out money for stuff that doesn't make them happy. If you're suffering from negative emotions or pain, internalize it and work on it on your own. Do not project it onto others. You have to be responsible and own your own pain. Sure, you can talk about it to a therapist, or you can share your troubles with a friend, but in the end, you are your pain. It's personal to you. You don't have the right to project it on others, leaking anger and disquiet, spoiling their energy by dolloping your stuff upon them. That's bad karma, as is manipulation, vengeance, and nastiness. As a part of setting you free and liberating yourself from fear, don't bother to push and shove and compete with others. If they need to be hot shots, let them. If they need to prove how clever they are, let them. Act simple and just listen. It's a good discipline. If they need to be first, step aside. Let them pass. The sun will rise exactly the same time for everyone in the neighborhood, no matter who rushes ahead or who ambles along at peace with himself or herself. It's the belief you have to compete that creates lack, and the fear of lack. Once you raise your energy, you don't need to compete. Once you don't need to compete, you're no longer scared. When you're no longer scared, you resonate a stronger energy. More people show up, and you can bill them all the more. These laws of money are so simple. Chapter 8. The Law of Giving and Receiving. Concept. People get confused about giving and receiving because they wonder how much they should give in order to receive. Sometimes they wonder if they are receiving a fair share. But the concept is easy once you look at it from the point of view of emotion and not money or chattels. The way to ensure that you will always have enough is to forget about the money and concentrate instead on giving of yourself emotionally. That is, supporting people, putting out energy, being there for others. People are scared and insecure, and they need emotional support. They need protection. It costs you nothing to give it to them. To do so, you have to put aside your problems and worries. You have to subjugate your ego, get underneath people psychologically, and push them up from below. You practice listening, empathizing, really hearing what they are saying, instead of cocking an ear politely in their direction while thinking about something else. Look them in the eye when they speak. Repeat back to them words that they have used, so they know that you have listened and understood them. When they are negative, come up with a few words of consolation. Recognize that their emotions are painful for them to bear. Say, for example, "Gee, I understand. That must be tough. It must be very disappointing for you that such and such a thing happened." Don't buy their emotion, just be there for them while they let it out. Don't try to fix things. People usually don't need fixes, they just need a strong, kindly person to listen and to empathize. A few theirs is all it takes. Show interest in life and humanity and people. When you meet someone, ask them questions. Where were you born? Who are you? Are you married? Where do you live? Be there for them. And listen to the answers. Concentrating on people is loving them, so agree to concentrate. That is emotional giving. It helps people feel more secure. Then, never depreciate them or their efforts. At best, you might suggest in a non-threatening way some other course of action, one that might be stronger, more likely to succeed than the course they've embarked on. Never trash people or dump on them. Never say things that might hurt them or scare them. Always try to keep them safe. Make these laws of giving a part of your code of living. You will fail, as we all do, and you'll get annoyed and lose it. But keep trying, for in the end, you have to fall in love with life and yourself, and falling in love with humanity is one of the ways you learn to love yourself. It's the first hurdle in the giving game. It's the way we master giving, and in doing so we develop a spiritual quality, we develop charm. Through it you become spiritually prettier. People respond to that. They will seek you out. Emotional support and protection is kind and benevolent. In a harsh dog-eat-dog world, it's pure heaven when you meet someone who's benevolent and kind and there for you. Once you have the emotional giving sorted, the rest of it follows along naturally. You give of your money and gifts depending on what you can afford. You don't have to spend a lot. Sometimes a small gift well chosen, with the recipient in mind, is more valuable than something that costs a lot. When I was in the jeans business years and years ago, there was a chap who came into the warehouse regularly. He had a company known as the Good Fairy. Whenever he came in, he arrived with a small present. It was often just a few sticky buns or chocolates or cold drinks, something like that. Everyone liked him, and we cut him all sorts of special deals on the jeans he bought. He would have had his sticky bun money back from us 1,000-fold in discounts on jeans, because he thought of us and took time out to stop at the bakery before he came in to do business. He had giving and receiving sorted out. He was a very humble kind of guy, and he made millions in jeans and the property business. Good luck to him, I say. So the giving and receiving trick is not to be self-centered, and don't be a scaredy-cat tight-ass. Remember, there's no shortage. Money is energy. You are energy, and there's plenty of both. So give emotionally to others, and open yourself up to being there for others. Be kind and emotionally generous, and never rob people of their positiveness or their hopes. Always build them up. Never depreciate them, even if you consider their ideas a bit silly. Back them. Back them verbally and emotionally without condition. And if you really can't bring yourself to back them unconditionally, then at least be neutral, as I said. Now, to the receiving. Get your head around the idea that everybody's money is your money. Do things which allow you to truly comprehend that the world is yours. Go to the art gallery in town and look at the great works and place the image of those pictures inside your heart. They are yours. Go to the jewelry store and mentally place those fine things inside you as well. It's nothing more than reaching out in your mind's eye for a necklace, pulling it back and placing it inside you. It's now yours, rather than being unobtainable behind the window as you gaze at it from the street. Look at the fine things of life and own them mentally. Let them belong to you. Now let's start to affirm these ideas as true. Go take $1,000 out of the bank and try to never walk around with less than, say, $500, even if it is the last of your money. If you can't manage a permanent float of $500 right now, then settle for less, but carry cash with you everywhere you go. Of course, if you can manage more, carry a couple of grand. Don't worry about losing it, or those negative waves about being robbed. You are in the flow and balanced and in charge of your money. No one's taking it from you. In fact, they're lining up to give you more. Get used to having money in your pocket, knowing that you are abundant and that more is coming, and knowing that you are responsible and you won't go potty and blow it all in 10 minutes if you can't afford to. Carry real money, not plastic. Credit cards have negative connotations. They're often a symbol of lack, not abundance. They are a mechanism which appeals to the ego, and so they control people. Using credit cards, people overspend, and that trips them into worry and fear, for the bill is on the way. Don't use credit cards except when you have to establish credibility, like at car rental companies. The rest of the time, use cash. It's solid and real, and it helps you feel rich. Its presence in your pocket is an affirmation that you have money and that you are open and ready to receive even more. Next, believe in your abundance. When bills come in, pay them the same day. If you don't have the money yet, as say you are waiting for payday, write out the check today anyway, and post-date it or leave the date blank. Put the checks you owe on your desk, nice and neat and in their envelopes, waiting in line to be mailed. Don't allow bills to rob your spirit of its hopefulness. Be prepared to pay cash for everything right now and on the spot. After all, you want to receive right now, don't you? So don't contradict that by hanging on to the money that's owed to others. Cut the check and know that the universe will provide. Quickie. If you are massively in debt and out of control, file for bankruptcy. Get rid of all the old money aggro and tell your creditors and the universe that you're sorry for mismanaging your life and for denying people their rightful payment. Then never accept credit again. I went to America as an illegal immigrant, with very little cash. It didn't take me long to rack up a whole load of debt. That obligation and the weight of the emotion it caused me slowed me down a whole bunch. One day I decided to sell everything and pay off large chunks of my debt, even though it would leave me with no assets in hand. I decided to pay all new bills in cash the day they arrived, or, because I traveled a lot, within a few days of my getting back from a road trip. Then I did a deal with the people to whom I was in debt, and they agreed to monthly payments. My biggest creditor was a sweet man called Bob. I owed him $55,000, so I sent him 55 $1,000 checks. Every month his money went through, and eventually I didn't owe Bob a dime. He got it all back. I made the information that I wasn't going to live in the emotion of lack anymore, and that even though I didn't have enough to pay all my old debts, I was ready to reform and simplify my life by creating no new debt. In addition, I agreed with self to work especially hard to settle my old obligations. Doing this changed my financial situation around. It took me several years to get it all sorted out, as I was originally over $400,000 in debt. But in the space of 5 years, I settled everything, including paying an ex-wife $100,000. In addition to paying my debts, I made and saved several $1,000,000. Make the affirmation that you are abundant enough and disciplined enough to go to a cash basis, paying for things as you go. Soon your whole outlook changes. You go from desperately needing to win a little time for your bills to being serene and at one with your money trips. Suddenly this mind shift clicks the universe at large onto your side, and you're now coming from strength. That solidity pulls money to you more and more. Of course, you first must go past your resistance to letting go. It's weird how it all works. I reckon it's your fearlessness and self-discipline that affects the change. I should also remind you that, as part of your affirmation that you're open and worthy to receive, you'll have to practice accepting what is offered to you in life. I deal with this idea a lot in my other books, so I won't dwell on it here, but let me remind you of the rule. First, whatever gifts you're offered, no matter how useless or grim the gift might be, take it. Never refuse to receive. Worst way, you can always give that dreadful vase to someone you don't like. Second, never refuse money from anywhere. If a friend offers to pay for dinner, let them. Be gracious and thank them and tell the universe, thank you for paying for my dinner. If a person wants to pay you for some inconsequential act, accept, and never walk past money on the street without picking it up, even if it's just a small coin. Humble yourself and stoop for it. It doesn't matter what others think. You can't put out the message that you're too proud or too uptight to receive free money. The universe doesn't know the difference between a dime and $1,000,000. If you refuse the dime, the universe thinks you don't want money, so you collapse your chances. Accept all that is offered to you, even the mucky coins in the mud. Make it a rule never to refuse anything that comes to you for free. Metaphysics. The metaphysics of giving are silent and centered around the projection of your etheric subtle body. When you express hope and cheerfulness, when you are expressing outwardly emitting energy, your etheric is like the sun. Remember I said that negative energy makes your etheric collapse in on itself. The more you get used to projecting outwards, the longer your etheric reach becomes. It's an inner reach. So give silently. When you pass a person in the street, mentally reach out and touch them in the heart, and silently project the thought, love. Or project admiration for them even though you don't know them. Back them. Believe in them. Project goodness, hope, and positivity. If you see that they are upset, project the thought or word, serenity, or calm. If you see them angry, project peace. Don't judge them. Know that they have some inner issue unresolved, probably from a long time ago. Love them even if they appear a bit ugly. Make it a rule never to pass a person in the street without projecting some kind of silent goodwill. Now, if you're coming out of the Tokyo Underground in the rush hour and there's 60,000 people there, don't mess with trying to get 'em all. Pick a few here and there and leave it at that. Otherwise, energy-wise, you'll be on your knees. But keep projecting silently for the eventual healing of everyone on the planet. Silently touching people you pass without them knowing. Like angels touch us in our sleep, without us being aware of their presence. That's the metaphysical giving sorted. Let the receiving come in from the inner worlds. As you displace energy out from yourself out into our external 3D world, in a positive silent way, you automatically pull more from elsewhere in the inner worlds. It comes to you as you project out. It also comes to you in the night while you sleep. The energy coming in is pure spiritual light, and so you will feel more energetic, or will have more stamina. Sometimes the light comes to you containing information. A thought goes off in your head, and suddenly you realize you need to buy $100,000 worth of aluminum futures, and so you act on that intuition and you buy them. Eventually everyone else decides intellectually that aluminum is a good thing, and the price goes up, and you got the inside tip weeks ago. You cleared your position, and you're at the beach projecting the word relax to the vacationers who pass by, healing them bit by bit, one at a time. In the world where most everyone projects uncertainty, some make a living of projecting fear, and governments have whole ministries devoted to sustaining fear, it's a cool little whiz that knows how to turn his or her energy the other way and give out security. It makes you different, silently different. The energy builds over time, I promise. Action. One of the best actions you can perform in relation to giving and receiving is to keep a gratitude book. I understand Oprah Winfrey recently picked up on this idea and she's been talking about it on TV. I haven't seen the show, but here's the technique in case you don't know it. You keep a journal of all the things you are grateful for. You write in it every day as a discipline. Oprah suggests 5 things each day. It's a way of pulling abundance to you. In the act of being grateful, you are acknowledging your abundance. The fact that you have to take, say, 5 minutes to write your journal each day means you are observing your blessings, so you make them more real. Your mind projects more satisfaction and less lack, and so more good things come to you. Chapter 9. The Law of Honor, Integrity, and Abundance. Concept. Talking about honor is tricky. It doesn't take much to come off as a righteous Pratimus Maximus of extreme pomposity and silliness. Here goes, I'll do my best and I'll keep it short. When you separate from your body and look back at your life, nothing will have disappeared. I've been in those worlds via the trance state, and the OBE, the out-of-body experience, and the near-death tube. And what I tell you is correct. Though each one experiences their life's overview slightly differently. You won't want to look at stuff if it is gruesome. If your life has been one of manipulation, inflicting terror, nastiness, rip-offs and so forth, the moment of your spiritual overview is going to be an extremely painful experience, unless of course you change things now. You can metaphysically and spiritually rewrite your history by seeing your mistakes as lessons, understanding that the God force is full of compassion, and realizing that each of us falls into the dark through our weaknesses and fears. In addition, the people who have been affected by any darkness you projected had a metaphysical responsibility. They must have projected or sustained their own negative energy for you to show up. Or at least they must have had options and they didn't take them. Of course, in the case of children who are abused, they don't have options because they're born into negative situations. If darkness has been a part of your life, you can perform a spiritual overview and healing while alive. First you have to ponder your dark side and agree to let it come out, as it is usually repressed deep within. Then, when you're ready, take yourself off for a couple of days on your own, someplace remote and quiet, stay in silence and fast, meditate and pray. Allow the impact of your acts to come upon you. And once you've looked at that, all you have to do is own it. That is, you will have to see how you were responsible. Owning it is accepting that you inflicted the pain on others, and you have to see how it must have felt for them as they became scared or sad because of your actions. Perhaps you killed them off because they lost hope, or perhaps they died not because you killed them literally, but because you stressed them out so much they passed away from other maladies. You use your 2 or 3 day quiet period to look at your dark side, to process and acknowledge your hatred and antagonisms. You agree to come to an act of contrition and to atone. Contrition and atonement sound serious and biblical. One imagines balls of fire cast down from above while Sodom and Gomorrah burn in the distance. It's not quite like that, because a universal compassion kicks in if you do it right. Contrition is feeling sorry for your stuff-ups and owning them, and atonement is doing something about them. We all have darkness inside of us, so you don't have to feel especially guilty. Yet you can't get to the light without passing through the dark. The idea that you can escape it completely by just being positive is metaphysically unsophisticated. You can certainly avoid it for a bit, building light and energy as you go, but in the end it is always there. You have to tackle it one day. Rudolf Steiner called it the guardian of the threshold. I always imagined the guardian as a monster on your path, who knew all of your weaknesses and could play upon them. It would eat you if you didn't have the courage to face it. Even the most saintly person has a dark side. If they say they don't, they're a saintly person with quite a lot of BS and denial, and that of itself can be dark. Even Jesus had his 40 days in the desert, processing his shadow side, being tempted and so forth. As your energy grows and grows, and as you become more and more light, you have to come to honor and integrity. For the expanding light within you attracts the dark forces that hang around looking for weaknesses, looking for ways to use to their own ends the power you are creating. Now, people usually believe they have no dark side, or that they have already processed it, but that is not often the case. Many have simply repressed their dark side deep within, so it's not obvious. Simultaneously with this process, you'll want to be 100% correct in your future dealings with people, so all your future financial dealings must be honorable. You will have to be completely fair and honest and 100% correct with people. Next, you have to have honor in your feelings. That means living in the truth and expressing that truth and not being covert. We are trained as children to use covert ways to get what we want, and so we don't see it as dishonest. But it is. Our world is very dishonest, and our leaders encourage dishonesty by setting bad examples, by lying, by being corrupt, by using a political sleight of hand to sustain power. People come to believe that being dishonest, covert, sneaky and manipulative is normal. It's not. It's very dark. Being on a power trip is also dark. That power may come from your physical strength, or it might be a financial, political, or military power. Sometimes we become experts at wielding sexual and emotional clout, tormenting others with our control over them. Almost all power is abused. That's how we learn. We have to become strong inwardly and outwardly, without misusing the power we have. It's very hard to get it right, and most of us err. Some lust for power. They get off on emotionally or physically capturing others and maneuvering them. Bad karma. We are also taught to lie, exaggerate, and obscure fact. We lie by omission, seeking to sustain one image while living another. To the student on the path, all of these are traps, and they have to be sorted out. For when you lie, it is to yourself. When you cheat, the same. When you manipulate, you create a prison for yourself as well as your victims. In the end, everything you do is to yourself. There's only the oneness, so all acts are self-infliction. Metaphysics. The metaphysics of honor are simple. You can't hide from the truth, so you have to let go, humble yourself and look at the truth, and fix the bits that are less than best. Each of us has fear, hatred, and antagonism. Each of us cheats emotionally, financially, or sexually. We each have our transgressions. You rewrite your history by looking at that. Perhaps it may result in you suffering a dark night of the soul, but it will pass as you grant yourself forgiveness. Gradually, the power of the infinity within you bathes you in a new light, and you are made whole. In this way, you complete your act of contrition. Action. Atonement is the act of making good, so you can go back and pay off, if you can, the people you cheated. You apologize if you have hurt people, or you atone by charitable acts and good works. Perhaps you can't repay those you owe, but you can make a donation to some cause from which they might benefit. Atonement is accepting full responsibility for what you've done without too many explanations and excuses, and realizing that you hurt people because you were trained that way as a child, or perhaps you allowed your fears and weaknesses to lead you astray. Then you vow that you will act lovingly and kindly to others for the rest of your life. You follow through consistently over a period of time, making good the hurt that you have inflicted. I don't think it's enough to just feel sorry and to say sorry. Sometimes you have to do something concrete as well. You can make all the money in the world and you can buy all the experiences possible and live a rich life. But a life without honor and integrity is completely worthless. So as a part of your abundance affirmation and the setting up of a new energy in your life, include the correctness of honor if you've not already done so. Live your life impeccably, on every front, financial, emotional, sexual. And if you exercise power, be benevolent, very benevolent. Chapter 10. The Law of Love, Compassion and Money. Concept. Most people can't get their head around the idea of money, love and compassion being linked together. The idea that money can be a symbol of love seems odd. We are so programmed the other way. Here's how they are linked. It'll help you see it all in a different light. There's a psychological war that goes on in us humans between self-hate and self-love. It's a part of another battle that persists. The energy war between living and dying, building energy and depleting energy. The two issues are wrapped up with abundance and love, and they can very dramatically affect your ability to earn money and pull abundance to you. Here's the concept. You start pre-birth as an infinite spirit in a spiritual dimension. There, the spiritual memory of what you are is eternal, and so you have existed in some form or another since the beginning of time. Suddenly, the spirit energy that is the real you finds itself inside a little body, trapped there for life, collecting new experiences. The act of coming into the body is one of descending, leaving the magnificence of a domain of spiritual light and entering into solidity and restriction, physical restriction, and emotional difficulties, the restriction of a dysfunctional family maybe, poverty, disability, whatever. It's a sacred and humbling act to accept such a learning experience. It's an act of love, for the restriction will force a consolidation of energy. It will force that spiritual energy to go from hazy wave to a solid particle body, and it will have to take on psychological impediments which will help it learn what it is like to be a human. Those impedimenta are not real to your spirit identity. They are borrowed from others who have lived before. They were part of the global mindset at the time of your birth, and so they are imposed upon the spirit. They really don't belong. The spiritual infinity within you can't be shamed, dysfunctional, unwell, hurt or injured, for it is a spark of the Christ consciousness. People often wonder why a God that is all love and compassion can allow pain and suffering. But it's easy to see that the spirit, the one you actually are, doesn't do any pain and suffering. It remains always in a state of grace, a state of complete positiveness, even if it is collecting painful memories which the ego experiences. At the time a child becomes a mature being, it has downloaded the negative waves of its culture and the global mind, the collective mind, if you like. Your job then is to work your way out of that and return to the real you, that spark of the Christ consciousness within. That's the seminar, transmuting the negative into compassion and love. In other words, you are busy recreating your spiritual identity here in our slowish particle 3D world. We start with shame. Early in our childhood, we are shamed when people shout at us, get angry, admonish us for not using the potty correctly, whatever. Later we are shamed intellectually as being stupid, or our actions and decisions are invalidated. Then perhaps sexual shame kicks in, as we discover we're not pleasing to other humans as a sexual partner, or we're very pleasing, and we're used by others. Sometimes sexual abuse is forced upon us in childhood. It's all very difficult stuff, this little seminar called life. Psychological shame kicks in as we deal with the peer pressure of our teenage years. You have to be like this to be cool, and if you aren't following the herd, you're ostracized. We are shamed into conformity, even if the conformity is one of hooliganism and drugs. There's a conformity in rebellion and the counterculture as there is in TikTok. Now we're doing serious amounts of confusion and pain, and we probably hate ourselves. We want to be something else. At times in our dreams we remember we are an eternal spirit, but it's a distant memory. Right now we are a human who is insecure and hates themselves and is in various degrees of pain and anguish. On top of all this, there is the other issue, that of living and dying, high energy and low energy. We have to fight our way out of these fears and restrictions and return to our spiritual identity. First, it's a love of self, not a narcissistic, egotistical love of self, but more a physical, emotional, psychological and spiritual respect for self. Can we love ourselves in spite of all we've been told, all the personal defeats we've suffered, the shape of our face, our lack of ability or whatever? That's the journey. Initially the answer is usually no. Self-hate kicks in. We anesthetize the pain via drugs, sex and illusions of power, or we use overwork and alcohol to blot it all out, succumbing to our addictions. We feel that if only things were different, if only we had more money, if only we had a different set of conditions, if only a certain person acted in a certain way, then we would be happy. People would love us and things would be just fine. That's the story of most people's lives. Self-hate gets in the way of everything, including their money-making ability, because eventually they lose the will to fight on. There's a fine balance to the getting of money. It usually involves activity, and that activity takes you further and further from your real self. It burns energy and makes you less secure, not more secure. The security you seek is within. It comes from seeing yourself as beautiful. It comes from going through the healing we talked about in the last section. It's the act of self-love, the acceptance, detachment, and forgiveness of self. It's where you wake up and remember that you are not the spotty-faced teenager who was ridiculed and shunned. You are a powerful, eternal spirit, imbued with the Christ consciousness, and here with a mission to fulfill and lessons to learn. A spirit of infinite honor and integrity that has a connection to all the knowledge that exists. Nobody out there is perfect. We're not trying to compete in the perfection stakes. You can love yourself and be imperfect, as God loves us unconditionally. I really like the image of the water rat, this scruffy little rat that sniffs around on the edge of muddy river banks. It doesn't look like much, but the little rat is sitting there on a log by the side of the river, and he is what he is. He isn't apologizing for being a water rat, but simply stands inside a divinity and a spirituality which is the animal spirit of water rat. You are what you are. You might be an Adonis in the making, or an incredible goddess energy, or you might just be a little water rat who stands in front of the bathroom mirror in the mornings and says, "I'm a water rat and that's okay. I don't have to convince people or act to please them. I don't have to work to win their affection. I don't have to pay for them so they will love me, because I love myself. I am what I am. I'm going out today. I'm going to believe in myself. I'm going to be honorable. I'm going to concentrate on people and treat them fairly. I'm going to treat myself fairly, for by nurturing myself, my energy will build, and I will become secure. I know that money flows to security, and away from insecurity, so by being more secure, I will prosper." When you are insecure, it turns people off. To spend money, people have to give away a part of their security. When they make the transfer of money to you, they have to feel solid. They have to feel they're getting something that will make them more, because they're paying out and becoming less right now. So if you're solid and contained and secure, it helps them feel solid, so they transfer their cash more readily. That is why self-hate destroys your money-making abilities. Partly, as I said, because it's hard for you to include yourself, and partly because you trigger insecurity in others, and that forces them to hang on and become tight. By booming out life force, love and strength and fine encouraging words to support people, you express a compassion for people's insecurity, and in the process you become stronger and more abundant. You become a divine paramedic offering people the oxygen mask of life force, dolloping out goodness and strength, so they become less fearful. People will respond to that life force, and it's up to you to figure out how you're going to bill them. Money is a symbol of that life force, of its appreciation. Money can be a solidified form of love. Through the transfer of money, we facilitate love and communication with other humans. It offers us a simple system for providing for and loving and nurturing ourselves, and it is one of the ways of expressing generosity and kindness for the less fortunate. Metaphysics. The energy war is a simple one to understand. We generate energy and we burn it. Modern life and its psychic and chemical pollution threatens us daily. The personality is perpetually slightly off balance, slightly scared. We are constantly pushed from love towards fear. So we look for the life force to sustain us. As we fret and worry, we burn more etheric energy and become more edgy. We imagine that making a pile of cash will help us, and so we hurtle out to seek our fortunes. Often we use work to avoid our fears. When we're very busy, we don't have to look deep within ourselves. But soon our lives are real complicated, and it takes loads of our vitality and ego power to keep things flowing. Our energy drops and we become victims of our own self-hate. We become so lost in the false ego self rather than resting in the infinite real self. Gradually we become numb, existing in a vapid and lonely state. It's scary, so we look for someone whose energy we can feed upon to sustain us. But once we start trying to suck energy from others, they're not going to like it. They will respond by fleeing as fast as their chubby little legs will carry them. So as you process your love of self, and as you work on your security by nurturing yourself, you become more neutral, less and less an energy vampire. Eventually you have surplus energy to dish out, and that is how you will develop compassion and true caring for the world and the animals and the humans upon it. Now tell me that money's not involved. Of course it is. For in the getting and dispensing of money you learn the fine balance of manifestation I spoke of in the first law. Through work, money and commercial activity you see how there is an energy trade-off between activity and security, and yet another trade-off between love and fear. Then there's the money lesson and the balance of giving and receiving, and the further fine balance between respect for self, self-worth, and respect for others. How you make money to buy experiences you need in this lifetime and how you handle the abundance that comes in will be very much a part of the final spiritual picture you present when your eternal self returns to its infinite homeland, carrying back the memory of what you were in this lifetime. Money, compassion, energy, heart, love, fear, wealth, generosity, meanness, they're all characters on the same spiritual stage. So the trick is to align to the beautiful ones, step away from the ugliness, and accept the gift of your infinite self in the process. Action. The action of compassion and money is the act of becoming comfortable with life's situations and the state of your bank balance. You have to be kind to yourself and you have to keep your ego in control and accept life. Otherwise the ego will yearn for things and force you to go out to work for it, to buy its stuff to make it feel better. Once you're at one with yourself, you will have compassion for yourself. Then you will, of course, nurture yourself. But you won't have to go shopping to distract you from your fears. As you become more aware, you become more real. Then, by discarding the useless stuff and eliminating unnecessary obligations, you become more balanced and settled, more silent and less manic. You'll also have less activity and stress, and you'll feel better, and so onwards and upwards. Do something for yourself every day, something compassionate and kind. I don't mean buy yourself breakfast, I mean do something that is spiritually or physically nurturing. A massage, a fast, a meditation, exercise, rest, play, that kind of thing. For it's in the quiet time that you see the great abundance of this life, and you'll move from the ego's disquiet to the spirit's wholeness. And you'll see that the things you worry about are often not worth the worry. In the quiet time, you'll see what has real worth for you and what is just fluff and hype. Once you get real, all your energy can go towards becoming what you really need and want to become. That transformation must be a part of your story in this lifetime. Making money is not enough. You'll have to do something that has meaning. You will want to collect memories in abundant settings. But you will also want to be surrounded by love and friendship. You will want to be doing things that you want to do. Yes, that's your story. Put aside the little nitty-picky ego stuff. Start today to act, invoke, and energize the grand plan. For it is yours by right. All you have to do is agree to step up and collect. So accept yourself and believe in yourself. Look the world in the eye and say, I am what I am. And by the way, that'll be $30,000. Thank you.